You're browsing the web thinking you are safe. But here's the scary part. Your browser leaks more than you think. Every site you visit, every connection you make, you think it's private, but it's not. Today we are going to look at supposedly secure browsing and expose exactly what you are leaking. What if I told you that even with HTTPS, your ISP can see exactly which websites you visit? What if VPNs aren't as invisible as you think? In this episode, we are going to peel back the curtain and capture real network traffic so you can actually see what your ISP, a firewall, or any observer sees when you browse the web. We'll break down HTTP leaks, SNI leakage, DNS exposure, VPN behavior under DPI, and finally, how proxy chaining and encrypted protocols like ShadowSocks change the game. This episode lays the foundation for everything that comes next. My name is Filip. Let's jump straight in. Let's start simple. When you visit a website over HTTP, everything is visible. Let's start a capture and go to example.com via HTTP. Here's what our ISP and any other observer along the way sees. The source IP address, hostname, the path, cookies, content, everything. This is why HTTPS exists. It encrypts your content. But watch this. I will capture the TLS handshake and go to example.com, but this time via HTTPS. As you can see, the payload is encrypted, but the SNI field, server name indication, in the TLS client hello packet is sent in plain text. SNI tells the server which certificate to present before encryption starts, as the server can host many websites on the same IP and port. So anyone along the way won't be able to see the content of the data you are transmitting, but because this tiny piece of text, the SNI, they will exactly know what sites are you visiting. But it's not only about your anonymity. Modern firewalls can block you and restrict access to certain sites. But SNI is not the only thing that leaks. Before you even connect, the DNS queries reveal your destination. Let me show you. I will capture traffic on port 53 UDP and then connect to example.com via HTTPS. Here are the domain names, all visible to the upstream nodes. The question is, how to address the DNS leakage, but more importantly, is there anything we can do to protect our anonymity due to SNI field? First thing we could do to address this issue is to set up a VPN. We'll tunnel all the traffic to some server in the cloud and we'll get our anonymity back. I have a basic WireGuard configuration ready. Let's bring the tunnel up. All looks good. We have an IP assigned, and if we look at the routing, we'll see that all the traffic will go through the VPN. Let's capture the TLS handshake and go to example.com using HTTPS. This time we are invisible. Nothing got leaked. Let's try the same for DNS queries. I'll start the capture for DNS query and try example.com one more time. No DNS query is visible to the outside. Splendid. However, within the environment, there may be certain devices that can do deep packet inspection. That is, analyze your traffic looking for patterns. Traffic firewalls only look at layer 2, 3, or 4 of the OSI model. They check the source and destination IP, protocol, port. They can also perform stateful inspection, that is, to look at the connection state and only allow the traffic if it's a legitimate response to an already established connection. However, a device capable of deep packet inspection operates at the application layer. Apart from looking at the header, it can read and analyze the payload of the packet, identify the protocol, match traffic patterns, look at signatures, or even do some heuristic analysis. This allows it to look for known malware signatures, SQL injection attempts, unauthorized access patterns, scan outgoing traffic for sensitive information, or block certain applications. Such devices fall into two categories: active enforcement, like a firewall with DPI that sits in line with the traffic and can immediately block it in real time, or passive monitoring, like a network security monitor, which usually sits out of band and performs passive analysis. Of course, there are many other devices that can perform DPI, like IDSs, IPSs, DLPs, SVGs, and so on. I have Zeek Network Security Monitor running. It was sitting there and listening the whole time. If we look at the connection log, we see that Zeek identified our WireGuard tunnel. It logged the source and destination IPs and ports, amount of traffic we transmitted, as well as number of initiations and responses. Long story short, DPI-capable devices can do passive scanning, that is, look at certain protocol signatures, like in this case, WireGuard fixed UDP packet sizes during the handshake. Look at the packet timing and sizes, TLS fingerprints, or SNI domains. You'll ask, so what? You can only see the peer IP. There's no way to see the actual traffic. You are absolutely right. In this case, we made our connection anonymous, but it's still detectable and can be easily blocked. Moreover, the administrator or some automated tools can perform active scanning, that is, connect directly to the remote server IP, and if it responds with a VPN handshake, block it. This goes for any remote service. So it's not only about passively watching the traffic, but also active techniques like probing, penetration testing, or port scanning. So we've established the problem. VPNs hide your traffic, but they are detectable and can be blocked. This is where proxying comes in. First, we need to understand the fundamental difference between a VPN and proxying. A VPN operates at the network layer. When you connect to a VPN, it creates a virtual network interface and routes all or part of the traffic through an encrypted tunnel. Your entire device becomes part of a remote network. This is powerful but has a signature. As we just saw, WireGuard has identifiable handshake pattern. OpenVPN has its own TLS fingerprint. These patterns are what DPI looks for. A proxy, on the other hand, operates at the application layer. Instead of tunneling everything, it forwards specific application traffic, typically HTTP or HTTPS, to a destination, making the request to the final server on your behalf. This is key, because by making the request, the proxy effectively hides the identity of the client. The best way to explain it is to see it in action, so let's take a look. For that purpose, I will be using XRAY, an advanced multi-protocol proxy. Let's first install it on the client machine. Here's a very basic configuration we'll start with. You can see two sections. Inbound, which is where we connect to the proxy, and outbound, which is where the proxy connects to its destination. For the inbound, the proxy will listen only on localhost and accept traffic using the HTTP protocol on port 1080 TCP. We are disabling connection timeouts. On the outbound side, the proxy will use the Freedom protocol, which means it will connect to the network directly. So in short, we connect to the proxy listening on localhost using the HTTP protocol, and the proxy will connect to the internet directly on our behalf. Let me restart XRAY to load the configuration. Now let me start traffic capture on port 1080 TCP, that's where our proxy is listening, and then access example.com using HTTP protocol. This time, I'm adding -x to specify that CURL should use the proxy to reach that site. The connection worked. If we look at the traffic capture, we see the CURL client connected to the proxy and did a regular GET, like it would connect to a real HTTP server. Nothing fancy here. Only difference is that we connect to the proxy and proxy connects on our behalf to the external world. But wait, what if we'll use HTTPS? How would it work? Proxy won't be able to decrypt our traffic. Let's try that. I will call example.com over HTTPS via the proxy. We got a reply. Let's look at the capture. Our client is telling the proxy, hey, I want to connect to example.com on port 443 TCP. The proxy then establishes TCP connection to the destination server and responds with 200 success. From this point onwards, the proxy becomes a blind relay. It just forwards raw bytes both ways between the client and the server. Mind that there are two separate TCP connections, one between the client and the proxy, and another between the proxy and the target server. The proxy literally just reads from one socket and writes to the other. It has no understanding of TLS. It's moving encrypted bytes it cannot decrypt. If we look closely on the first encrypted packet sent from the proxy, that's the TLS client hello with our SNI. Okay, so the SNI still leaks and firewall sees exactly where we are going. So how going via proxy is any help? As we saw, it did not improve our privacy at all. First thing, proxies can be chained together. What does it mean? Basically, you route the traffic through multiple proxy servers in sequence, creating a chain. For example, you connect to the local proxy running on your host. That in turn connects to a proxy running on some VM in the cloud that can connect to the internet, or that proxy could connect yet to another proxy in different country, and so on. This forms a chain. The question becomes, why to chain proxies? Separation of knowledge. No single proxy knows who you are and where are you going. The first proxy knows your real IP, but then only sees the second proxy address. The third proxy knows the destination, but only sees the second proxy address. This is very similar principle to how Tor network operates. Now that we know why proxy chaining can help us, let's see that in action. I will go to a different server that's in the cloud. It has XRAY already installed. If we look at the configuration, is identical to the one on our client. Accept HTTP and send traffic directly to the internet. Let's call this the remote proxy. Now let's go to our client where we also run XRAY. Let's call it local proxy. Here its configuration. The inbound piece have not changed. We are still accepting HTTP traffic on the loopback interface. However, in the outbound configuration, instead of going directly to the internet, we point to the remote proxy, creating a chain. So client connects to inbound of the local proxy, that in turn goes out using HTTP protocol to the inbound of the remote proxy, and then remote proxy goes out to the internet. Let's restart the local proxy to reload the configuration. Now let's try connecting to one endpoint that will return our public IP. But let's do that without the proxy. Okay, that's the public IP of our client device. Now let's try connecting to the same host, but this time via the proxy listening on localhost. Let me first enable traffic capture on the local and remote proxies. The public IP we got belongs to the cloud VM. Let's trace what happened by looking at the connection dump. We'll see our CWRR client connected to the local XRAY proxy and ask, hey, I want to connect to ifconfig.me on port 443 TCP. The local proxy did connect to the remote proxy and said, hey, I want to connect to ifconfig.me. Now, if we look at the remote proxy, it did connect to the target domain. So, our traffic was routed through two sequential HTTP proxy servers before reaching its final destination. The last proxy in the chain acts as the egress point, effectively masking the true source IP address of the client. The target sees the remote proxy IP as the source of the traffic. Okay, we've made some progress. By chaining proxies, we've separated knowledge. No single point knows both who we are and where we are going. Moreover, we are coming from an IP in a different location. But there's still a critical problem. Traffic between the proxies is not encrypted. Any observer between us and the remote proxy can see exactly what we are doing just by looking at the SNI. Luckily, XRAY supports various protocols. Today, we'll go with ShadowSocks. It is specifically designed to be a secure proxy protocol that encrypts the connection between proxy servers. It uses very strong encryption and was designed from the grounds up to be resistant to detection. ShadowSocks traffic looks like a random encrypted data. There's no clear protocol signature, no identifiable handshake pattern. This makes it much harder for deep packet inspection systems to detect and block. Let's see this in action. What we'll do is accept the traffic via HTTP on the local proxy, then forward the traffic using ShadowSocks to the remote proxy, and then go out to the internet. Let's start with setting up remote proxy to accept ShadowSocks. I have a configuration file ready. We specify the inbound protocol as ShadowSocks, set the encryption to tcpdump, but AES GCM is another good option. Only thing that's missing is the key. This particular method needs the key to be 32-byte encoded in base64. Let's generate a random key and paste it in our configuration. The configuration for the outbound stays as is, direct connection to the internet. Let's restart XRAY to reload the configuration. Now let's go to our local proxy. Let's look at the configuration file that I've prepared. On the inbound, there's no change. However, on the outbound, we are no longer using HTTP, but ShadowSocks to connect to the remote proxy. We specify the address, port, encryption method, and paste the key. Key needs to match on both ends of the tunnel. Now, let's restart our local XRAY instance to reload the config. Finally, let's test the configuration. I will start the capture and try connecting to the HTTPS endpoint. Okay, connection works. We exited out via the remote proxy. If we look at the traffic, it's fully encrypted and totally random. It's very difficult to fingerprint. Mind that the remote proxy not only makes the final connection and fetches the data, but also resolves the DNS so nothing leaks, nothing gets poisoned or locked. The local proxy only encapsulates the traffic into the ShadowSocks protocol and passes it to the remote proxy that does all the heavy lifting. Before we wrap up, let me show you something real quick. Everything we did today, setting up proxies, creating inbounds, chaining outbounds, can also be done in a graphical interface. For example, here's 3x UI, a popular web interface for XRAY. We'll discuss it in more detail in one of the future videos. Let me create a new inbound, name it my proxy, select ShadowSocks protocol and also an encryption method. It will generate the password automatically. Then let's click Create. 3x UI will configure underlying XRAY instance and generate the config for the client. Let me select more information, and right here it gives me a ready-to-use ShadowSocks link. I will copy the URL. Now watch this. I will open v2rayn, that's a client on my PC, paste that URL from the clipboard, and boom, the entire configuration is imported in one click. There are great GUIs that makes this process fast and convenient, but understanding the fundamentals is absolutely essential before relying on automation. So now you've seen the full story, what leaks by default, what VPNs hide and what they still expose, and how we can start building secure encrypted proxy chains using XRAY. This is the fundamental building block of modern censorship evasion and traffic obfuscation. But we are only getting started, because in the next episode we go deeper. How to proxy UDP, how XRAY routing engine can intelligently move traffic, how to eliminate DNS leakage completely, and how to build multi-layered proxy path that behaves differently depending on the domain, protocol, or country. We look at outbound fallbacks and balancing, and after that, in episode 3, we'll tackle the big ones: VLS, Vision, and Reality, the next generation of TLS camouflage traffic designed to bypass even advanced DPI systems. Later in the series, we'll also look at Syncbox, a modern flexible alternative to XRAY, GUIs, and eventually the Tor network as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.